And we are recording, so you know. And without further ado, part of your distance learning support team webinars, I present Mariah Guillen.
Thanks, Don. I appreciate it. So we're going to be talking about breakout rooms just a little bit. There's two different ways that we're going to talk about it. One, I'm going to really show you a free version of it and just kind of give you an idea of how to use it and how to navigate it. And then we will talk a little bit about the Google one that is a paid application. So that's what we're going to kind of go over really quick. So again, my name is Mariah Guillen. I have been with the DELT team for, or the support team for about a year, and it has been incredible. I really do enjoy it. Love being able to work with different people across the state, especially since we all have been pretty much in our own little hobbles of the world trying to figure things out. So it's been wonderful. And a great big thank you to Don, my moderator, for being here. He's going to be moderating the chat. And so if you have any questions at any time during the presentation, please go ahead and you can, raise your hand if you have the button to raise your hand, or if you have any questions, just go ahead and feel free to interrupt as we're going, because I want to make sure that we're answering the questions right then and there. I know myself, sometimes I'll think about a question and I want to wait till the end and then I forget it by the end. So if I'm going too fast or you just have questions in general, please feel free to ask them, either in the chat, raising your hand, however you want to do it. Again, Don will be moderating and I'm going to be doing a lot of the talking. So here we go. Opening thoughts. I do want to kind of just get us all kind of talking, communicating, and sharing some thoughts and ideas. But how would you use breakout rooms in your classroom? Or why would you want to use breakout rooms in your classrooms?
Well, you want the students to be able to work with another person without you necessarily breathing down their back. So.
Okay, so giving a lot more of the student interaction. So what kind of lessons would you use, Nancy?
Well, a lot of the practice things that we do, if we break out into a breakout room, then they could practice those without interfering with somebody else, and we could do it at the same time.
Nice. I love that idea. Thank you. Does anybody else have any ideas maybe of why they would want to use breakout rooms or how they can see it working in their classroom?
I'd really like to have my students work on math problems in partners.
Oh.
I think, or maybe groups of 3, but yeah, that's what I would like to be able to do first.
That is a great one. I love being able, or especially when we were face-to-face, is having them all in their little centers and being able to work, not necessarily with the teacher, but with each other and try to figure out those problems. That's a great one. Thank you, Dawn. I think that was Dawn.
Yeah, that was Dawn. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. I'm recognizing voices. We're good.
And
Perfect.
Nancy McKeon says it allows me to work one-on-one with a student on their writing.
Perfect. Working one-on-one. I love that. I love being able, and students do want that, especially on the virtual world. They do want that one-on-one, that interaction, that communication. And sometimes it's hard when we say, okay, I'll meet with you individually. I'll meet with you individually at this time. It would be nice to kind of get there and, open up a breakout room and say, all right, if you come to this room, we'll discuss it. Everybody else keep working, or, everybody else discuss and I'll talk one-on-one with you. That is a great idea. I love breakout rooms if we are doing like ESL classes. I know when face-to-face, we used to do a lot of role, going to the grocery store, and one person's the grocer and the other is the person getting the groceries. And so those kind of interactions, those are always fun. I love the idea. I've never thought about the idea of doing the math, and I would have loved to do that this last term had I thought about it. That would have been great, but my mind, I was barely teaching math, so we're good. These are all great ideas. So breakout rooms give us that idea of being able to connect. They give us the idea that we are able to really bring out that classroom feel, that one-on-one attention, or just that group work that a lot of our students are missing in this virtual time. So we're going to talk about one of the breakout rooms add-on. So there's a couple of things, and this is what we had kind of stated earlier, is there are two different ones that I would recommend, and one of them I have not used as much, but I know Tina has, and we talked about it a little bit earlier today, and it sounds wonderful. But it is the Google Meet Plus, where you do have to pay a little bit. I think it's $5 a month for the add-on, and it does have that breakout room feature. It is not one that I have looked at yet because I've had the free one. You know, everybody loves free. You see free, that's the first one you're going to gravitate to. So I've been using the free one because it's very basic for the needs that I have. Granted, I would like to see some other features, but this one works, like I said, as basic as I need it. So how do we get this? The first thing that you would want to do is go to the Web Chrome store. So all we're going to want to do is go to your app store, whatever app it is, or the extensions page. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go there. Oh, excuse me, that is not where I want to go. I'm going to go here to the extensions page. Okay, so if you're on a Mac or something like that, it would just be your app store. For the Chrome, it's going to be the Chrome web page, wherever you're going to find your extension. Of course, you can always Google breakout rooms for Google Meet extension, and it'll pop out. So that's all I'm going to type here in the search bar is Google breakout rooms. Okay. So there are two on here. So like I said, there is the breakout room for Google Meets, which is made by Google. So of course that one's going to be linked in and connected a little bit more effectively than maybe some others. But you know, if you don't want to pay those $5 a month, that, you know, like I said, a lot of us, whenever we see free, that's the one we gravitate to. So you kind of want to keep that in the back of your mind. But I'm going to show you guys today the Google Meets Breakout by Robert Huddick. Okay, it's very simple to use. There are a lot of buttons which are kind of fun to play with, but they do give you that opportunity to, you know, expand and work out with things. So here we go. Once I get this, you know, I'm just going to add it as an extension. Now on mine, all my extensions are right here because I have them all pinned. And so it's going to be this blue little box that is called Breakout Rooms. And I'm going to click on it. Now, one of the important things about creating breakout rooms is you want to do it before your class starts. You never want to do it in the middle of class because you won't be able to use it. So whenever you have your breakout rooms, this is what it's going to look like. Now, it looks like a lot of colors, a lot of buttons. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You know, every single program that we get, there's going to be buttons that you never use in your life. That's just how, you know, different apps are. It gives you a lot of options, a lot of choices. You may not always use them, okay? But this is the control panel. So you really do want to think about this as being very important. This is the control spot where you're going to be navigating and using all of the buttons, okay? But let's start out with how do you make a breakout room? So from here, you're going to go to courses. That's going to be the first thing, okay? And mine is blank. I wanted to show you how it would look without a class. So it's blank. There's nothing on here. The first thing you're going to do is hit this green button, which is the plus button or the add-on button. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and it opens up this little box. And so in this box, I'm just going to give it a name. You know, if you don't want to put a name, that's fine. But, you know, a name would kind of save you a lot of hassle, a lot of trouble. So I'm going to go Tech Talk Breakout, not Breakout, Breakout Rooms. There we go. Okay. And then, of course, if you want a description, that's fine. Most of us don't need that description for our classes. So we don't, you know, it might be a waste of time for you. But if you do want to add that description, that's fine. Okay. Now, the most important thing is make sure that you hit the save button. You do need to make sure you're saving it, because any change you make, you don't want it to carry on sometimes, or if you're thinking about it and you decide not to, or you decide you want to change something, you want to make sure that save button is there, so that way it carries on and you don't have to worry about going back and editing over and over. Okay, so I have the save button. I could also hit this button, which is to duplicate, and then this one deletes them, okay? And this exports it out, okay? These ones I don't really, or these two I don't play around with very often because I try to make my own. So I really do use these two and the delete if I'm done with a class or a course or something, okay? So I have just created my course. This is like my shell, okay? It's just the beginning. I'm naming my course, trying to get it set up in that shell portion. So from courses, I'm going to go to breakout rooms. All right. Oh,
Okay, where did you go?
I'm sorry, to rooms.
Okay.
All right. So from here, what we're going to do is, you see that I have stuff already created. I have this because I was using it last week when we did our ELA workshop. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit courses, and courses is going to take me to whichever room I want to. So if I have several different ones, it's going to narrow down which breakout rooms or which course that I want to really focus on. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Tech Talk breakout rooms. Now notice it cleared out what I had before because I'm now in its own little shell. Okay. So from here, I want to determine how many breakout rooms I want. To do that, I'm going to hit this little add, the green button, you know, the add button. So for this one, let's say I want to have, you know, there's 20 students. So let's say I want to have about 4 rooms. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. 4 breakout rooms. Now, of course, right here, you're going to want to name them. So main room, and then I'll go to this one. This is breakout 1. Breakout 1. Excuse me, breakout 2. Maybe. Breakout 3. Breakout 4. Okay. And I'm just going to do that. Now, of course, nothing has been saved, but right here, this is where the URL is going to go. So one of the big things about this is if you have your URL already made. So example, if I wanted to do it for this specific Tech Talk and I have the URL made, I can just copy and paste it right there. If I don't have any of it made and I still need to create it, which, you know, it's a really good idea, especially, excuse me, especially if this is like a one-time thing, you can just go ahead and hit save and it'll create them all. But if you do have very specific, and I know sometimes we have like the Tech Talks that are the tiny URLs or the bit.ly, and they're very specific to whatever we're doing, then you can go ahead and paste it. But if you don't have that, just go ahead and hit save, and it automatically creates all of your URLs. Okay. So right here, if you saw it earlier, it said it's saved, it's good to go. And again, we could repeat, we could delete them, or we could export it out. Okay. So I have created my shell, I've created my rooms. Now let's get started on our actual meet. Okay. So we are really, if you look at it like this, we're working backwards, which is fine. That's kind of how you want to think about it, is that we're working backwards. We started with courses, we went to rooms. Now we're going to start our meet. So I'm going to go to the meet tab. Okay. So right here, again, I'm at my control panel. This is what it looks like. This is how you're going to be using it. So this right here means nothing because I don't have a class started or I don't have a class selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit start class. Okay. So with start class, I'm going to pick my course again, Tech Talk Breakout Rooms. And now there are 4. Now, let's say one day I know only 10 students are coming. So maybe I only want 2 breakout rooms. So I'm going to go ahead and click 2. Or if you don't know how many students are coming, you can go ahead and click 4 and then kind of sort it out later. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to pick 3 for right now. Okay. Now from here, I could open up the main room, I could open out just the break rooms, or I can open up the main room and the break rooms. This is the best option because it gives them all to you like that, and you don't have to worry about finding them later. It's all right there, you can do it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this button, and then I'm gonna come on and it's gonna show you how this happens. All right, so in a new tab, ooh, this is not how I wanted it. Perfect. All right. So what it's doing here is it's opening all of them up into individual tabs. And I should have done the settings first because I messed. I'm not working on my work computer. I'm working on my home computer. So it has all of my main rooms and my breakout rooms open. So I can go ahead and hit join on each one. This is not how I do it. Give me just a second. Let me redo this because I don't like how this is popping up. Try again. You gotta love technology when it's not wanting to work with you. Okay. Let me retry this one more time because I'm gonna go in and change the settings. So right quick, I'm gonna go to the settings and keep all of those the same. Okay, right here, display breakout rooms. I want them all to be in the same window. I don't like having them in separate windows. I want them to be all in the same windows. That's my mistake because my home computer didn't have it like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say same window. There we go. Now I can go back to my meets, start my class, and then open the main and breakout rooms.
Okay, so how did you get to how did you get that to do that?
Go to the settings. So that last
Where
tab.
is settings?
Up here on the top where there's meets, rooms, courses, settings.
Oh, okay. Go to settings.
Yeah. So I was going to discuss settings later, but maybe we should have actually started with that, but that's fine. So I'm going to go to settings, and that's where all of the, all the little ones, we're going to talk about those later, but opening them up in the same window. So that way, when they actually open up, perfect. They look nice like this, side by side. So I have my main room here, and there I am in my main room. I have my breakout 1, my breakout 2, and breakout 3. Okay. So right up here up top, it says main room, breakout 1, breakout 2, breakout 3. And they're all in one tab, so that way it's easier to navigate back and forth between them. So I really like that. And like I said, I like putting them all in one tab rather than having them out in like 5 different ones or 5 different windows, because it's easier to keep track of them all in one spot. So here I am, and I could start out in the break room. One of the most important things though is that I really wanted to go over is this is you're on your control panel. What you can do is you can for each room navigate here. So I have breakout 1, I have breakout 2, I have breakout 3. Okay. Now each one you can turn on or off the audio. You can mute or unmute yourself, or you can turn on or off the video. So this is really nice if you want to do each one individually. Now, if you have 5 or 6 different rooms, it does get a little bit more complicated, but let's say you have 5 or 6 different rooms and you want to make sure that everyone is talking, or you want to see if there's any interaction. You can go ahead and hit this one where it says broadcast to all breakout rooms. You can hit this button and hear all the rooms and hear what's going on in every single one at the same time. And that's really interesting. And this was one of the really fun parts that got me excited last week when we were doing our breakout rooms and our sessions with the ELA team, because you get to hear them. And it was really exciting to hear 5 or 6 different people talking at the same time, because it gives you that sense of a classroom, like, hearing the people discuss and talk and share ideas. And that's really nice. Again, you can mute yourself in all breakout rooms, or turn on. And so if I turn on this button, that means I'm talking to all of the breakout rooms at once. And so everybody will hear me instead of, me going to one room and then the other room and then the second room. I can turn this one on and say, all right, guys, we're going to be stopping in 10 minutes. So just wrap up, or 5 minutes, whatever. I can turn my mic off and keep going, and they'll keep working on as they would. I can also turn off and on my camera to all the rooms with this button as well. So from here, there's a couple of other little things that we can look at. Is how do students get from one breakout room or from the main room to the breakout room? Is you would go to this assign breakout ad hoc, and all you're going to do is click on the here button and copy these links. Okay, and so this is where it gets a little bit glitchy, because students are, especially if they're not paying attention, I could come here, go to my main room, copy and paste it into the chat and say, all right, those of you who are in breakout 1, go to breakout 1, breakout 2, breakout 3, so on and so forth. And you're always, 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 always going to have those 2 or 3 students that were like, which one do I go to? Where do I go? And so that's the only part where it can get a little bit glitchy. Because students just don't pay attention very often. And I know we've all had those students, we've all had those situations that doesn't work out like we thought it would. But that's, I think, the only thing is that you can't automatically send them out there. And I think this part, the pre-assigned classrooms, I think that's what that's what it does, excuse me. But I haven't played with it because my students are not consistent. I never know if they're coming or not. So I don't really mess with that one at all. Now, another part that we can look at is the mute and remove students. So if I click this button, it mutes them all in the break room. All in the main room. If I mute this one, it mutes them in every single breakout room. Okay, not the main room, just all the breakout rooms. This one mutes all the students in all rooms. And then if I am in breakout, this one says main room. If I'm in main room and I click on mute all in this room only, it'll mute everyone in that one. So that one's there. And then you can remove. So if you want to remove all the students, again, it has very specific of how you can either remove them from either all the breakouts or one specific breakout, or just terminate the whole class. So there's a lot of buttons that you can press with and play with that make it very interesting. And then the students are always like, wait, what happened? Why did my mic turn off? I think there's something going on. So if you don't prepare them for that, sometimes they panic because they think that their computer is glitching, and they'll hang up and try to get back on because they don't know. So just kind of keep that in your in the back of your mind as well, is make sure that you've kind of prepared your students before you start muting them from your end. So the last thing I do want to talk about are the settings. Okay, and this is probably what I should have talked about first, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it last. These are the settings. So like I said, you guys saw this earlier, is when it had separate windows, it opened 4 different windows, and it was all over the place. If you have, and I know I do, but if you have like dual screens, that's fine, and it works out that way. If you only have the one screen, you might want to do same window, because it does make it a little bit more easier to use, and it's very nice and compact. Okay. The next thing you can do is, of course, personalize it a little bit. What kind of colors do you want your toolbar to be, so on and so forth. You can have background images, a broadcast image. These, again, are personalizing. And then automatically join me created in this extension. What it had me do, and I didn't have these buttons pressed at the first time, is if you have, excuse me, if you have these pressed, as soon as you hit that start class, it'll open the Meet and get you started. It'll kind of keep you going, so you don't have to hit enter. I didn't have them on there. Excuse me. I didn't have them on there, pressed on there. So when I did it, I had to go in and say, join the class. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. If you just want to automatically be in there, this is what you want to make sure is pressed in order to do that. And then the creating new static meets. if you want your Meet links to change all the time so students don't accidentally try to go into a Meet that they've had before, you might want to consider this. So that way, every time you start a new class, it will create the new links. If you want all the links to stay the same, then of course don't hit that. But if you do want the Meet to be changing constantly, go ahead and have it marked. So that way, you know, excuse me, if you want to have like a little bit of security or something, you know, just having those links changing all the time. Some teachers like that. Some teachers like it changing. So, you know, if they don't have a student anymore, that student can't join or something like that. Some teachers like to have it on there because it's consistency. It's whatever is best for you. So I think that is it. There's it feels like a lot of buttons, but I think it's pretty easy to use. I absolutely love the control panel because I like being able to hear people and see what they do and kind of hear from them and what's going on. And it's very, very interesting to see. Again, this is the free version of it. And so it's not built by Google, it's built by someone else, which, you know, it's fine. You do have some of those extensions that are great and they work well. But if you do want something that you can definitely call like support for or Google what's going on with it, the Google Plus is going to be a good tool as well, because, you know, you pay about $5 a month for your subscription, but it is made by Google for Google. And so you'll be able to have all of the tools that are designed specifically with the Google Meets. So are there any questions? I think that's pretty much wraps up my end of it.
So Mariah, when you assign the number of rooms, is the main room part of that number, or is it the main room and the other rooms?
The main room and the other rooms.
So if I say I want 3 breakout rooms, I'm going to have the main room and 3 breakout rooms.
Yes.
Okay. And so then how do you get those people back to the main room?
So you could just type in the link. Last time, I think, Dawn, you had to click the link, right, that I sent back to you, or did it jump you back?
I don't remember, but I did have to click on the link to get into it in the first place.
Yeah. So I think, you know, one of the ways I do it is I always put the link in there just in case. And I think you have to put the link into each breakout room for the main room so that students can go back to the main room.
Okay.
There is a question in the chat, and it is, if you want the students to leave the breakout room and go back to the main room. Yeah, maybe you just answered that question. I don't know. Do you have to put a link? I think you had the same question there.
Yeah. So yeah, I would stay on the safe side, is just make sure that you have the link there. I want to say that they do need the link. And so, yeah, just go ahead and put the link on the chat and say, hey, we're going to be meeting back in the main room. Here it is, and go from there.
I remember I have not used breakout rooms much at all, but one time I was attending something, and it may have been in Zoom, but but I just remember that it came up. A little button came up was all that happened, and I was like kind of automatically in that room.
I want to say that was probably a different application. I'm not sure if it was Zoom or if it was the Plus. I have not used the Plus features. Simply one, because I didn't realize that Google had a Plus for breakout rooms. I didn't realize that in the first place. And 2, of course, like I just said at the beginning, I like free.
Well, Monte said something about that they're supposed to come out with breakout rooms and meets this year sometime. I wondered if they had yet, or.
Let me jump in there. So first of all, Google Meet Plus is not a Google product. It is still made by a third party. And if you have a paid subscription account for Google Workplace, which we do not, we have Google Workplace for Education through NMDELT, and it does not include those breakout rooms. Hopefully, Google will decide to add that later, but right now it is not an included feature in what we have. And we did have some issues with the Google Meet Plus breakout rooms earlier in the coaching webinar. So nothing is perfect. And part of our discussion after that session is that some of us have been in all kinds of different sessions, whether it's been using Zoom or Google or WebEx or Adobe Connect is another one that I've been in, and everyone has had technical issues at some point. Breakout rooms can be really tricky. So just being prepared that sometimes no matter what you do or no matter what tool you use, technology can attack and go wrong.
What we've been doing in our ESL class is because the students didn't mind sharing their numbers, and I just have them call each other. And we've been using it as breakout rooms like that.
And it can be okay. I've had other experiences teaching in classes where domestic violence was a real issue. And so sharing phone numbers was not a good thing. So just to keep that in mind. So if you make that kind of a requirement, even if you don't make it a requirement, but people say, oh yeah, I'll share mine. And you've got one or two people who are uncomfortable with that, it can put undue pressure on them.
And in that case, we use WhatsApp if
WhatsApp,
they don't want to.
right? Yeah. Or Google Chat, or there are a lot of other tools as well.
Yeah. So Google Chat, can you talk? Can you speak to each other in Google Chat?
So what you can do in Google Chat is then create a meet. So it does have like a little camera on it. So you click that icon and it creates a Google Meet for you.
Okay. So, yeah, just because I've tried, I just thought that was the easiest thing. Some of my students are on their phone and some of them, have so much trouble with technology. I'm like, okay, just call each other.
Well, thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. That feedback. Add in, jump in. One of those. So are there any other questions?
There's nothing more in the chat at this time.
Perfect. So maybe I should just kind of express a little bit of how I use breakout rooms and a little bit of the successes that I've had. Is one, again, I really did enjoy last week because it was a workshop and everybody loved to talk, and so that got me a little bit excited, a little bit more so than what I have seen in my my classes, within the last couple of months that I've been using this. But I know our ESL students overall, they love to talk, so it's not a hard thing to get them talking. And using the breakout rooms, they've gotten very good at, adapting to the technology. And, at first it is going to be a learning curve and people are going to get frustrated. But it's like Tina said, just with any new technology, there's going to be the glitches. And so students may be a little bit resistant at first, but, if you normally have, those classes, those activities where you do require them to break out, to work in small groups, it is a great thing. So I know it works really well in my ESL classes. This last term, we did a writing course, and I had all of the students pair up with 2 or 3 different people. They read each other's essays in breakout rooms and then discussed how it could be better. What could they use? Were they using commas correctly or were they not? And so it was really nice to see that. And, you know, again, they were a little bit shy about it because they think, oh, it's just, we're all working online. Why I'm going to be working on it in groups? And so it's a little bit hard to kind of get through them. But doing the ELA, you know, ESL, ELA kind of portions, they work really well in the breakout rooms. And I've not had too many complaints. Again, at the beginning, yes, you do have a lot of those. Well, I don't like how it works and it's too hard. But once they get the hang of it and they get, you know, oh, okay, this is what we're doing, they're really comfortable with it. And they do love being able to talk with each other. Even though at first they don't really want to, it really opens their eyes and gets them to remember what it is like to be in a classroom. And then they get to talk with each other and see, oh, you're having the same situations that I am. I have kids and they won't, in the next room and they won't be quiet. Or, you know, my husband keeps walking in and interrupting my class, and or things are happening. And so it really does create a sense of community, which is really nice to see that we don't see very often anymore in a virtual setting. And so that's been my experience with breakout rooms, and maybe not necessarily with this program, but incorporating breakout rooms a little bit more into the classrooms.
So how did you, when they were looking at each other's essay, how did they show the essay to the other person?
Oh, just the same thing. They presented it because it is Google.
Oh, you can present?
Yes, all students can be or should be able to present. I've not had a problem. They also did their presentations like that, but that was just one big main room. We didn't do breakout rooms for that. But they did practice with each other. They did talk about what they would be addressing. But no, if you're in a meet, you can go ahead and hit the present now. All students can hit the present now and share it with them. And sometimes they share the link too so that other people can write on it, like as if they were in a real class. So I've had them do it various ways. And it's just whatever they feel most comfortable doing.
So in the breakout room, you can still share?
Yes.
Okay.
I was just thinking that like they could share a Jamboard as well. So that's a way they could work on, if you wanted to do a math lesson, they could work on a word problem together, because they could draw the picture and anyway, I think that would be pretty cool too.
Dawn, where were you last term when I needed ideas for math class?
I was right here sitting in my house.
That would be a wonderful idea, is allowing them to, like you said, draw, solve equations, do something.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try this maybe next week. I'm going to try it soon. But thank you. This is good to know. Good information.
Oh, you're welcome. Perfect. All right. I think that is it. Dawn, do you want to?
I do have one thing to say to Dawn. As you know, I track data for people using our products that we support around the state, and you are the champion of Nearpod by a large margin.
Oh, yeah. I love Nearpod. Oh, my goodness.
A great example.
Nearpod has really literally changed my life. It is the best way to present information and get participation. I'm thrilled at how my students participate. It's so different. I used to just do Google Slides, but Nearpod has really made a big difference.
I agree. It's so easy to do things like put up a board, you know, a whiteboard or a collaborative board or those kinds of things, and get people involved.
Yeah.
Yep.
But do you have problems with people on their phone? Do they access it okay, or?
Yeah, most of them. I have a couple of students who routinely just use a phone, and they do fine. Occasionally, they can't do it's hard for them to switch back and forth between the Google Meet and the Nearpod. So so sometimes they'll get kicked out of one or the other, but usually they can get right back in. And I haven't had any major problems with it, which is great because that's been really good too.
I'm sorry, Mariah, to jump off your topic here, but I just wanted to mention that to Dawn.
That's funny.
Because I really like Nearpod also.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
I think these webinars are important that, you know, we collaborate. That's what it should be.
Yeah, that's what it's for.
And, you know, interacting with each other and gaining new ideas and insight from various teachers. You know, it's something that we haven't been able to do in a long time. And so this is really good, you know, whether we're, you know, on topic or not. It's sharing the ideas and trying to help each other, you know, be successful in their classes.
Yep, I totally agree with that. All of you are looking at if you're looking at your screen, you're seeing our standard evaluation Google form here. And if you get a chance to let us know what you think of Mariah's work today and our webinar today, you could certainly like a feedback on that. The link is in the chat there. And Mariah, I think we're finished for the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I hope you guys got something, and we will see you again sometime soon.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate these so much. And
Yeah,
I'm sorry I have to
Nancy.
ask the
Thank
same
you.
questions over and over again.
No,